Hi, I'm Sean Gorman and welcome to another instalment of our What Is series. So today's topic of conversation is reserved matters. So I'm going to say what is, or probably better, what are reserved matters. So reserved matters that we're talking about today, we're talking about them in the context of companies, and more importantly, in the context of control of companies. So reserved matters is something that you might come across if you've got a company that has a number of different shareholders with different percentages of ownership. Now, legally, different percentages of ownership give you different rights in relation to control of a company. The two common thresholds are 51% and 75%. So if you have 51% ownership, for example, you might be able to appoint a director or remove a director. If you have 75% ownership, you can change the Articles of Association, and if you want to know more about articles, then check out the earlier video we did on that, or change the name of the company. So those are sort of default protections you get by just having a particular percentage shareholding. However, in many cases that might not be enough. You might want to have different degrees of protection or control, which have come with different percentage shareholdings. So you might want to have more control with a lower percentage, or you might want to have, even with a high percentage, more control than the law gives you. So how do we do that? Well, typically that's where reserved matters come in. So you'd enter into a shareholder agreement, usually with all of your other shareholders and the company itself, quite typically, and in that agreement you would have at the back a list of, you guessed it, reserved matters. And this is a way of essentially rebalancing the control from what the law would just dictate using those percentages. And typically what you might find in those reserved matters are things like a requirement to get the consent of either a majority or a minority shareholder, but usually specific shareholders, to do certain things. And examples might include changing the rights attached to shares, issuing new shares, appointing a director, removing a director, employing somebody with a salary over a certain agreed limit, or buying assets that are worth or cost more than a certain agreed limit. So as you can see, the idea here is to just give a little bit more control, either to somebody who already has some control at law but wants more, or somebody who wouldn't otherwise have that control without these provisions being included in a shareholder agreement. And that's reserved matters.